This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agents' success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines. But most importantly, you guys provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals, because at the end of the day, you guys, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. Happy Wednesday, everybody. I got a couple of very special guests. I'm going to bring him up here in a second. I know we're running a little bit late, but like I said, you guys, this is a real world. Shit doesn't go according to plan. We make things happen, but we're live and we're going to break some things down. Quick reminder though, the weekly newsletter did drop this morning. All right. So if you want to sign up for that, go to thefreightcoach.com. It will auto prompt you to register. I don't auto sign anybody up for any of that stuff. Frankly, I just don't know how to do any of that stuff. So your data is always safe with me if I have your contact information, because I am not tech savvy at all. But I would love if you guys want to check it out. We just talk industry on there, you guys. Again, I'm not trying to be a life coach. I know a little bit about freight, and that's where I like to stay in my lane. But today, you guys, we're going to be talking data. We're going to be talking shipper information, all of that stuff, CRMs. How do you track it? And I got a couple of my good friends on the show to break this down. You guys know who Paul is, and we got Krystian on the show as well with ShipperCRM. Fellas, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thanks for having
us, Chris.
No, absolutely.
It's been a while. I was on the episode, I think, 113 of the Freight Coach, and now you're at like over 1,000. So
yeah, dude, you guys are officially 1182.
1182. There we go.
We're cranking them out.
Awesome. Yeah, man. It's yeah, dude. I like Paul. I remember the first time when we connected back in the day when you were just starting FreightCaviar out and everything. And you know, it's wild, like just kind of where everything has gone. We were talking about this in San Antonio too, man, where it's just like, it's just nuts to see where growth happens when you just like literally commit to it and build it up. And I mean, dude, you guys have built a phenomenal thing with FreightCaviar and now with ShipperCRM. I'm excited to break this down and learn more about it, because, you know, from my perspective, tracking your shipper data it's something that I've definitely not been the most efficient with, right? Like bootstrapping my companies, I understand the need to, you know, operate inside of our budget. And we've always kind of stuck with spreadsheets and stuff like that for tracking our shipper data. But what I've started to see is the more and more people we reach out to and speak with, the higher the likelihood of things falling between the cracks that start to happen. And that's one thing that I know if I'm experiencing this, other people are definitely experiencing this as well. So like, what was the driving force behind creating ShipperCRM?
That's a good question. Well, I'll start it here, and then Krystian, you could take it away. So basically, like this was August 2022. I had like a post on Twitter that like got like over 20 likes, which was back then like didn't happen at all, you know. And I was looking at the people who liked it, and I saw Krystian Gebis liked it. And right away, I knew that was a Polish name. And I go on his profile, and his profile says CEO and founder of Autobahn.ai. And he was in the logistics industry on the trucking side, and Krystian could talk a little bit about that. But I reached out to him because I was like, oh, we could get him on the FreightCaviar podcast, and I could just network with him. So I reached out to Krystian to see if he'd be up for a call, just a kind of an intro call, just get to know each other. And on the call, he told me about like he closed down Audubon.ai, and he's actually working on this new like shipping scheduling tool that he's been working on for a little bit of time. And he was thinking that maybe like, because I have kind of like the marketing side and like the logistics experience of being a freight broker, that I could kind of partner with him, and we could together build it up. And so immediately, like when we were talking, I was like, Krystian, we got to talk to my mentor, Tim Hyam from Ascent TMS, who's like one of our first sponsors. And Tim knows a lot about this industry. He's sold a freight brokerage. He sold another like fintech company back in the day. And so we got in the call with Tim, and Tim's like, telling us basically like that this, shipping scheduling tool will be difficult because first of all, like
verbatim. So,
well, yeah. So basically, he said like OpenDoc got acquired by LoadSmart. I don't think they were profitable, but they got acquired. And then like FourKites has a scheduling tool, a free scheduling tool already available. And he's like, it'll be difficult to sell into shippers. It's difficult to sell into them, and et cetera. He was like, if I were like, and we were like, what would you do in our shoes? Like, what would you build? He was like, every single one of my customers needs a CRM. And at that point, like Krystian was like, well, he was kind of interested, but he wasn't in like, I don't think he wanted to build a CRM, because like in Silicon Valley, building a CRM now is not like the thing to do. But he was like, Paul, if you could post it on your Instagram stories and see if there's any interest, if people actually give us their emails. And we posted 2 Instagram stories, and we got 200 emails of people that would be interested in this product if we build it up. Yeah. And like right away, Krystian starts building it, and within a month, we have 4 paying customers. And Tim sees this, and Tim's like, I want to invest in you guys, because it was like a month after he gave us the idea. And then Krystian built on that, on the fact that like it was a CRM. That's what we call the ShipperCRM. But like Krystian at the end of the day was like, what do brokers really want? They want leads. And so that's when he started building the magic map and the whole data side of things. And Krystian could get into that, but that's kind of like the origin story. And that's how it came together.
Yeah, dude, let's dive into that a little bit, man. Cause you're right, dude. CRMs are great, but like lead generation tools are where everybody like needs to start, right? At the end of the day, like, I mean, for me, yes, you can get away with utilizing Google, and depending on how big you want to go after it, maybe lead generation isn't your thing, but like, I feel like a lot of people underestimate, how much opportunity is in their backyard, right? Like literally inside of the metro that they live in, or within a 50-mile radius of the city that they live in. Granted, unless you live in like rural Kansas in the middle, there might not be a lot out there, but most people are close to major metropolitan areas. And I think people highly underestimate how much opportunity is literally a 15 to a 20-minute drive away from their house.
So 100%. One of the things, Paul was doing pretty frequently, I was doing as well too, was like we were to that point looking locally, like where shippers were around our area, or specifically maybe even more so like in my case, like where I had a customer in New Jersey, like where warehouses around that area were, and trying to understand.
Give them the background story of why you were looking for shippers, because I think that's important, the context behind that.
Oh yeah, so as Paul mentioned, prior to kind of him reaching out, my first startup was a self-driving truck startup. So we had 2 trucks, a Kenworth T700, 2012, biggest pile of garbage you could probably ever buy. And then we had a second one, which was a 2020 Peterbilt, which was much easier to work with. But we basically we attached a bunch of electric steering motors to the steering wheel, brake pressure, like air chamber controllers for air like braking, and then throttle acceleration. So this truck basically had a bunch of sensors on it, or 2 trucks, and they were driving around Chicago. You could press a button, kind of very similar to Tesla Autopilot, and it was working, pretty well. We had raised about like $3 million for it, but effectively throughout that process, like just to kind of try to break even on these trucks, I was hauling freight with them, and we had a driver. I also happened to get my CDL during that process, but one of the customers we had was, that's a whole nother story, but how I got that CDL. But
that's a cool story.
Yeah, so I actually got my CDL in 4 weeks. I'll keep that part short. So as usually it takes a lot longer. But to break even on these trucks, like, while we're testing, we kind of just started looking for freight to haul. And one of the shippers that we found, it was actually through the mayor of a city in the suburbs here called Rolling Meadows. He previously used to work at this 3PL that was installing Siemens machines, MRI scanners and CT scanners. And one of those deliveries was oftentimes to New Jersey. We'd pick it up in Elk Grove Village, right by O'Hare. It's a big machine. We'd put it into our semi, and we take it to New Jersey. And then one of the things I was looking for was what other customers can I find that I can have as direct customers that would give me a backhaul back to Chicago. And that was like the first experience that I had. It wasn't even obviously thinking about ShipperCRM at the time, but having that insight and the foresight as to how much time it took to look around and try to find those facilities, and then B, compile kind of like a company file for myself, whether that was in spreadsheets or whether that was in like some whatever software. And it took a lot of time. It took like on average 2 to 3 hours per company, because you kind of want to educate yourself as much as possible around where is their supply chain. So when you reach out to somebody, you actually know what their company's about, right? And so that was really a big insight as to when we started ShipperCRM. One of the first, we should probably make some merch that has these like 3 magic words, and it's just like how find shipper, because Paul and I would literally get DM'd on LinkedIn or whatever, those 3 words like so often that I don't know. I feel like we should make.
We had a couple of those. I have some screenshots of some foreign dispatchers wanting to work directly with shippers.
And like we kind of make a joke about it, but like at the end of the day, what we realized pretty quickly was like, CRM's great and all. Like people obviously do need that, but really what they were after was like nobody even knew they didn't have data to bring into the system, right? Mm-hmm. And very quickly, we kind of realized, okay, well, everybody's using all these generic tools that are out there. Everybody pretty much has access to the same ones, but they all cherry pick that information and they all silo it into their own like databases, whether that's a spreadsheet or whether that's like HubSpot or ZoomInfo, right? And to take that one step further, we started realizing really quickly, and also from our personal experience, which was like we'd enter this information into a spreadsheet or HubSpot or wherever, right? We'd set our reminders. We reach out to the shipper. They're like, all right, reach out to me in 6 months. Now you come back in 6 months, that reminder goes off, and then you have no idea whether that person's actually still at the company.
Dude.
And so you spend a ton of time trying to figure out like what's going on. Are they not reaching out to me because whatever? And so all of that basically, as time went on, we started realizing like this should just all be baked into natively, like what ShipperCRM is. It's a platform for you to look up any shipper in the United States supply chain. And then we provide tools for you to be able to do like kind of manage your relationships, like set your reminders, set your interactions, your emails, but while having that foresight and insight of like what is changing about the company, which employees are leaving, which locations have closed down, which locations have opened up, and that building on top of a database that actually is living and breathing is, it's a huge time efficiency unlock effectively. So,
dude, I'm like salivating here because like you are literally speaking to my soul on a lot of things here, man, because like for me, you're right. The amount of times where it's like, we utilize a lead generation software tool. It all went into a spreadsheet and everything, and like our follow-ups and everything were happening. But like the amount of times we had, and you generally see this, the end of a year and the beginning of a new year, where it's like, hey, so-and-so is no longer here. And then it's like the sales cycle starts all over again.
Right.
Nothing is more frustrating because it's like, I'm a big cold call guy. I won't get away from cold calling because I feel like it is the most efficient way to generate business inside of transportation. Cold calling, site visits, that's it. I've tried email. Don't DM me every time I say this, I always get fucking 70 DMs. Hey man, you should really try email and social selling. But anyways, that's a conversation for another day. But everything you're bringing up here, man, is the biggest time suck of my day every single day. And it's like, I just want that list of people. And then especially like when I update a note inside of there, like, hey, so-and-so said, call them back on February 10th, for example, that it would be awesome. And you guys might have this integrated into my Google Calendar or my G Suites where it says, hey, so-and-so, this is an event, and it just automatically creates an event. So that day when I come in, I have my first warm cold calls I call them, set up and ready to rock for me so I can come in and make sure I'm staying on top of that stuff, because I've just personally found where that's an area of improvement of my internal process where it's like my notes are great. I keep up to date everything. I'm reaching out to people if I'm on that page inside of my Google document that says to reach out to that person this day. And it's like, dude, you got to stay in front of people no matter what. And I feel like that's one thing that people miss. And then inevitably people start to feel like, oh, they told me to call them last month, I'm not going to call them because then they're just going to be pissed. And it's like, nah, they're probably not going to remember you. But yeah, that's kind of a negative look on you. And at least for me personally, that is a negative look. If you tell somebody, well, all right, cool, so I can call you in February. They're like, yeah, call me in February. And then you don't. I mean, I think like it's just a knock on your abilities, in my opinion.
Totally.
Not keeping your word.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly it. So from how does the integrations work with what you guys are you guys already with TMSs? Are you guys integrated with like Outlook and G Suites and all of that stuff?
So we have one main integration at the moment. It's HubSpot, which is I would say that's the one that kind of covers a lot of our customer base. A lot of people that are signed up for ShipperCRM are former HubSpot people or current HubSpot people. And the main reason why we prioritized that integration was there's a lot of things that HubSpot, a lot of bells and whistles that HubSpot has that we don't yet have, mainly like things like sequencing or email integration, call integration, calendar integration, stuff like this. So we thought it would be a pretty good kind of like bang for the buck, where you can use ShipperCRM as a lead gen system. And if our CRM features aren't yet up to par with what you need as a more sophisticated organization, then you can just sync your kind of favorite companies, contacts over to your HubSpot account. And that information, you can resync it multiple times. And there's some limitations with that HubSpot API because we don't have full control over HubSpot, but
sure.
Obviously we do our best to try to keep those records in your HubSpot up to date for you when and if possible. So that's the one integration that we have right now. And we're a small team, so we have to pick and choose really where to point our focus at the moment. And one of those main things that we really focus a lot on is just working on the infrastructure to make sure that information stays validated, up to date. We're getting people, which is another thing we can kind of talk about here, which is like the logistics employees at these particular shippers, these companies, which is really cool because we now can rank and we predict which of those employees, those logistics employees, are more likely to be the decision maker. That's another little time saver. Maybe, well, it depends on how you look at it, but it's pretty cool to be able to see, like, at the top of that list, it's like, you'll see a transportation manager if that's actually an employee job at that company. Yeah. And then over time, down the list, you'll see they become less relevant. But
no, and that's exactly it, right? And I feel like there's also, another thing too is how many times out there, I know I've came in contact with this exact problem with lead generation software in the past is you reach out to this individual and they're like, dude, I'm not even the transportation manager anymore. I'm in a different department now, click. And you're like, fuck. And then it's like, again, it's back to square one with it. Because, again, people change jobs, they change titles. There's a new decision maker that's being brought in. There's a bunch of stuff out there that changes, right? So it's like, you need to be on top of that. And do that, that's a phenomenal tool right there. Like that right there. If you believe in I believe in building my relationships up from the ground up. I love befriending the gatekeeper. I try and, make sure that they remember me every time I call and then work my way up the totem pole. But there are people who love to just go straight to the decision maker. So it's like to be able to save those steps like that, dude, that's a massive time save. What about with your guys' clients, if they're operating, say Chris Jolly is operating off of spreadsheets and Google documents, how do I transfer all of my current data into ShipperCRM? Because I'm not a complex guy. I love simplicity in the way that I operate. I'm not attached to anything. So how would I go with all of my current data to upload it into ShipperCRM?
So we're working on a way for you to just drag and drop your spreadsheet into ShipperCRM. That simple. Like, just drag the file into ShipperCRM, and we will basically create if we have the company file already for a company, we'll just add it to your account. And then once it's added to your account, you basically get all the updates for that company. We're not sure yet when that will be ready because it's a little bit like cumbersome, mainly if you, for example, have in your spreadsheet, if you don't have like the URL for the specific company, it's sometimes difficult to match a specific company to the one that you really want. Because there will be now that we've gone through this and like actually have a lot of data, there are so many companies that have similar names, almost identical names, but one is a C Corp, one is an LLC, one is a I don't know, like a limited partnership or something like this, but they all have like the same base name, right? Obviously, the way to delineate between those is via website, and of course, there's going to be one-offs here and there that, you know, some small company that might not have a website, but I'm not sure how much business they will have, you know, they'll be doing if they don't have a website to begin with. So
yeah, that, you know, because like I'm, you know, when I'm going out there and trying to develop business, like I'm not going after enterprise level shippers, right? And it's not anything other than the fact that like the sales cycle is too long. Like, I mean, you guys understand this because you guys own a real company. I need revenue, right? Like I can't wait 3 years if, you know, because like I'm just not going to make it in business. I need revenue to pay my bills and everything. So it's like I go after the small to mid-sized market. And I do that because they have a shorter sales cycle associated with it. There's less touches to the decision maker that comes along with it. If they're publicly traded, like I'm not even calling them, right? Like I want nothing to do with that at this moment, just because it's just not inside of where I can turn on revenue in like a 60 or a 90-day sales cycle. And that's where I need to look, where it's like, ideally 30 days would be phenomenal. 60 to 90 days is pretty average out there from a conversion data point for us. And having that ability, you know, but again, there is that one where it's like, hey, they're on their, because like this is where people, if you're actually prospecting shippers, you've gone to a company's website and you're like, damn, these guys look legit. And then you call them, they're like, dude, we have one parcel shipment that we send out, right? Like we manufacture the gaskets for
LTL.
Yeah, dude, it's something like that, right? So being able to go inside and like find somebody and the probability meter of like, hey, these guys are going to have full truckload. They're going to be open deck. That's a massive, massive, massive time save, you know, because like that's all I do. I only do open deck freight, right? Like 99% of our business is open deck, and that's where I'm going to stay.
That's amazing.
And it's like, I want to know who I'm going after, because you're like, it does change the entire conversation. Like, I don't even want to call somebody that's going to be 90% LTL or 80% LTL. That's just not worth my time. I need to find that customer that's got 5 to 50 weekly full truckload shipments inside a flatbed where I can go and just hammer them. I hammer them is, you know, just a statement, just to get in front of them as much as I possibly can. And then I know that the likelihood that they fit inside of my ideal customer profile is where I want to sit. So that right there, I don't know of any other tool out there on the market that has what you guys have. All right. I would want to put that out there to my audience. I've done the research on CRMs, you guys. I've done the research on lead generation software. They're either fucking ridiculously expensive or they are nothing what they are advertised as, or they're overly complex to operate. Like I said, I stay in the Google and Excel realm because it's easy for me to operate and do my business in. But there are limitations that come along with this. And I feel like this is also a major barrier why people don't want to prospect. Like, let's remove all of the rejection aside from prospecting. It's how do I even become organized? And then to make sure I'm reaching out to the right people, but then how do I stay on top of it? How do I build a system around that to make sure that, hey, I'm following up with the right people at the right moments?
Yeah. Appreciate that though, Chris, what you said. And I think you're right. And props to Krystian, because Krystian is the one who like was thinking about it in that way, where like we have a database of leads and our goal is to have every single shipper and manufacturer in ShipperCRM, and then having like a CRM tool. And the CRM tool right now, like Krystian mentioned, doesn't have like all the bells and whistles that HubSpot does. Like Krystian knows more of like the time, like us, when we'll be releasing more features. But overall, like we have over 150 customers, and that's because like people go and they look at it. It's simple to use. It's intuitive. They look at the database of like the magic map, and they're able to scroll on the US. They could go into like their backyard, just like you said. And I love that you mentioned that, because we interviewed Tim Hyam like a year or two ago, and that's what he was talking about. It's like literally like you just go like in the 50-mile radius of where you live and go knock on doors, call those people up and build relationships with them, because that's the easiest way to actually build a relationship. If you're next door, you could, sit down with them and break bread. So, but yeah, thank you, Chris, for that. And I think you're right. And our customers see that as well. And we've also partnered with Journey recently, where we have sales training inside of ShipperCRM. So if you're a customer of ShipperCRM, you actually have the Journey sales training course inside of the app. So you can learn actual like sales tips from the Journeys course, which was founded by Will Jenkins. So yeah.
No, dude. And that's like, when I was consulting, it was really just doing sales training at the end of the day. That's what it was. Everybody's like, dude, how do I find shippers? Right. Like I was chuckling at your DMs about that, because like I have been asked that literally more than anything over the years that I've been doing this show, is how do I find shippers? How do I sell? How do I cold call? And it is those basic fundamentals that are out there that I feel like at the end of the day, like you need to focus on that. You need to stay on that, because from my perspective, it is it's the only thing that matters, right? More people need to focus on developing and generating revenue than worrying about all these hypotheticals. And, like I'll just bring up tariffs right now. The amount of people posting about tariffs right now is nauseating, because as a competitor, I'm going to fucking steamroll you, because I'm not stopping reaching out to people. The more uncertainty that's out there in the world, I dig in deeper and I just continue to push forward with it. I don't care about tariffs. I don't care about port congestion. I don't care about any of that stuff. Not that it's irrelevant. It's just, I can't use any of that to stop me from developing business, because if there is anything that is certain in freight, somebody out there is dropping the ball somewhere. As a sales rep, it is your job to find that prospect and that customer and position yourself where they think of you first. But I see this time and time again. So many people are so apprehensive to even sell because, the market's this, there's tariffs, there's always going to be something. You are just lazy and you are finding a reason to not want to do your job. Sorry, I get really fired up.
I love that energy. No, I love that. I got goosebumps listening to that. I love that energy. And you're right. I mean, especially for like us smaller guys, like there's so many opportunities in the market, because like the big guys are dropping the ball, or just other companies are dropping the ball. And I think like what you said is 100% correct. Like we have to or at least if you're a regular broker, like there are so many opportunities in the market, no matter what kind of conditions there are. So yeah, dude, I appreciate that.
One of the things that we're trying to do to that topic about, helping you find those opportunities is tailor the tool with really good filtering. So you were mentioning you don't want to go after the enterprise shippers. Great. You can go in and select one of the revenue filters to say 0 to 50 million in revenue, 100 or less than 100 million in revenue. I mean, you can also choose commodities too. In addition to just naturally going to your backyard. Like you zoom in on the map and you just see all the dots on the map of, warehouses that we have discovered in our research process. And when you really think about what the tool actually ends up doing by being built in the way that we've built it, is that it, in my view, will require you to have far fewer leads that you basically need to spend your time on, right? Like the main thing in sales is consistency, right? Following up with people. And if you're not following up with people, but you're just expanding your funnel endlessly and just trying to see what sticks and what hits the wall, that would be a losing strategy. A winning strategy is go and figure out which prospects you have the best chance with and the best angle to approach with, because they themselves, right, like they are looking for capacity all the time, whether that's brokers or whether that's trucking companies. Some shippers have 10 to 15 brokers that they work with, and at different times, somebody else might fall through, and you might come in because you have maybe strong capacity to offer in the lanes that they need, right? Or you have domain expertise in a certain vertical that they make products for. Those things make you stick out. And I think in general, it just makes you more resource efficient by using a tool like ours. Obviously, I'm biased in saying that, but generally speaking, that's the intent behind how we're building it.
I
Chris,
love it. And yeah, go ahead.
If I may, I have a quick question for you. I don't want to interrupt you though. This is going to be kind of a different subject.
Yeah, no, by all means, shoot.
What's your tech stack right now? Because I know you got Denim, right? But I'm wondering, like, what is the Freight Coach tech stack?
So what we use is I use Revinova for my TMS out there. I utilize green screens, obviously, for rates, and that's the cool thing about creating content, you guys. Is like my advertisers, I actually use their shit, right? And then I'm on top of that, we utilize the main load boards, right? DAT and truck stop. But for the most part, though, our whole thing with that is like once we develop capacity on specific lanes, like load boards are second outreach, right? When our core carriers aren't there, then we'll do that. But that's kind of as complex as I keep it. And for me, it's like I have yet to find any of my prospects out there who need a in-depth tech stack at all, right? Like my busiest shippers out there still operate via email. That's all they need. That's all that they're going to do. They don't need anything more than that. Do we have EDI capabilities? Yes, I have EDI, API. I have all of those capabilities at my disposal in the event that I need them. But I find there is a lot less of shippers out there that actually require any of that stuff than not.
Sure. Especially with the small, mid-sized companies that you're reaching out to.
For sure. Yeah. Obviously, the enterprise shippers, yes, 100%, they're going to require way more shit.
Yeah. And like, I mean, you're talking about that earlier, and it's like also like you reach out to these enterprise shippers, the sales cycles incredibly long, and then like it's a volume play where like the margins are also super thin, right? And like you're only really profitable when you take a lot of loads at like very, very little margin. So you need the capacity to be able to handle all that. So yeah, I mean, I think you have the right approach, and it's cool to see you do this, like kind of like building in real life or building in like with an audience online. And I think that's really cool.
For me, it's like I've listened to a lot of like entrepreneurs out there, their podcasts and stuff, some very highly successful people. And I saw them all say the same thing. They wish they would have documented from day one what was happening and like what it actually took, right? Because like everybody, I mean, sure, shit, Paul, you probably see this now where everybody's like, oh, Paul, it must be nice. FreightCaviar, look at your team, look at you. Dude, I remember when you started that shit in your bedroom, essentially fucking 6-7 years ago, right? Like I remember
making no money for 2 years.
Yeah, I remember your first post was like it was like an Uber or something coming back from the gym. Like I remember you talking about that stuff, right? So it's like, it's easy for people to see the results after the work's been done. And I'm like, dude, I have such a unique opportunity where I can document from day one, dollar one. And I essentially did it in both of my companies, right? Like the Freight Coach media stuff, that's been documented since day one. And now Freight Coach Logistics, that's also documented from day one. And it's like, I'm putting all of this stuff out there. And I feel like as somebody who has a following or whatever the fuck you want to call it, it's my duty to talk to multiple different companies that are out there because people need to know what is at their disposal. Not everybody has thousands of dollars to spend to go to a trade show, to walk around on a floor, to see what's out there. So it's like, I want to continue to do that, but I also want to be able to show the fundamentals of like, hey guys, this is what it took to get us to $10 million a year in revenue, 20, 50, 100. I'm going to document all of that stuff out there because there's the next generation of people who are going to come up. And if there's anything that they can learn from my fuck ups along the way to help them become better earlier, dude, that's what it's all about for me.
Oh, I appreciate that. And thank you so much for having us on the show.
Dude, hell yeah.
And it's great to see you and where you're taking everything. And it's just awesome to like reconnect here. And after being on number 113 on the Freight Coach podcast. So
dude, we'll make sure it doesn't take another 1,000 episodes for you to come back on, guys.
Let us know.
Yeah.
We got to get you back on the FreightCaviar podcast because I'd love to learn more about what you've been building on the logistics side.
Dude, whenever, man, I'd love to. But hey, fellas, how does anybody reach out to you guys to find out more about what you guys got going on?
So you can go to ShipperCRM.com. You can check out our website there. Have a landing page, obviously, with all the information. If you want to sign up for ShipperCRM, you go to ShipperCRM.com. You have to submit an application. We actually run a vetting process on every customer that wants to purchase access, basically to make sure that nobody's has like a fraudulent background.
Gotcha.
Scammers, double brokers, stuff like this, because there is sensitive.
There's a lot of scammers that want to get in.
Yeah, there is. So we run that. It's fairly quick. We'll turn that around pretty quickly. And then you can reach out to Paul or I on LinkedIn, X, or Instagram. Follow us on FreightCaviar, ShipperCRM as well too. And we'll always reach back out.
Perfect. Fellas, I appreciate it. That's going to be it for today, ladies and gentlemen. As always, if you got value in what you heard, which you better have after this one, subscribe to the show if you're not subscribed. If you really ambitious, which you should be, rank the show on iTunes and Spotify, you guys, because that's how your network's going to see value. Because if you saw it, chances are they're going to see it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.